Schatzie, I wanted to ask you something about your article. You said that the majority of current investigations and FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests and subpoenas are not looking in the right place. Explain to me what you mean, because obviously there are people doing investigative work on this issue. Yes. Now they have in the past, but you're saying you're overlooking something.
I think they're underlooking something. I think that if they just focus on Flint and who knew what when, I mean, that's coming out really well, but they need to back up and look at the bigger issue about how Flint got committed to something that A, they didn't need, B, that didn't make sense, and that C, is going to hobble their economy further. I mean, the thing about KWA, in reading their incorporation documents, is that it was supposed to be for a lot of people. It was supposed to be for several different counties. The membership of the board of that organization clearly lays out that right from the beginning, almost like 3 months after it was formed, that they planned to sell water, a lot of water, to someone else, and it was other than citizens. So I really think people need to focus bigger and broader and further back. And the Freedom of Information Act requests are being turned down. I've seen that. And there is now something that got passed by a representative named Heise, H-E-I-S-E, and I will look up the number of the bill, but it says it's to protect Freedom of Information Act, to keep Freedom of Information Act requests away from cybersecurity, but actually that's not what it is. If you read it, it's about energy and pipeline infrastructure, and it is a way for people who don't want other people to know what is going on to not be able to get the information. And so I can't figure out how much further back this goes, because there is going to be potentially a very deep waste site for nuclear waste on the other side of the lake in Canada. Then TransCanada is trying to come down with pipelines, and we have Veolia Water, which is like in the top 3 biggest water privatization companies in the world. They have been embedded in Michigan water politics, and they also definitely have very deep pockets. And I think that there are all these class action lawsuits and people looking to sue someone. And I wrote about Lockwood, Andrews, and Newnham, who were the engineers. And I think they've been, I mean, in my opinion, they're extremely negligent. They green-lighted Flint's water and allowed it to be switched without being treated. But I just hope people keep looking a little deeper and wider and try to figure out why this happened. The symptom of what they were up to is Flint and the lead in the water. But that's a symptom of something I think is much bigger. So.
Well, you know, and I wanted to talk about the infrastructure, and maybe Mike can help us here. I mean, the infrastructure, just in this country, period, all infrastructure needs to be, we've got to do something. I mean, bridges are crumbling, everything's crumbling. But our water supply system is a part of that as well. And Mike, it seems like everything needs to be redone. I don't know how to do it, but your thoughts?
Yeah, years ago I talked to a fellow from SEMCOG, which is the Southeastern Michigan Council of Government, who said if we could see our sewers and our water systems, we talk about crumbling roads and sidewalks, but if we could see our sewers and water systems, we would all be appalled. It's out of sight and out of mind. Our grandparents made these investments in sewer and water, and we're living on those investments. We're not doing anything to maintain them or to
why aren't we?
Too little.
I mean, well, isn't there money set aside, whether it's state money or federal money, to handle infrastructure issues?
Well,
oh yeah, we're talking about federal money. Ha ha.
Yeah. Well, I mean, use this example here. We have this perfectly good Detroit water main. It's a pipeline. I mean, it's not, what, 40 some years old. There's no reason to replace it after 40 years. It's a pipeline. I mean, if you just maintain it. But they built. Flint goes out and builds a parallel 6 miles apart. It's literally 6 miles. They're parallel water lines. Flint's now one difference is Detroit's water is treated at its treatment plant. Flint's water is not treated, and there is a belief that there's a lot of fracking leases have been signed along that route, and there was a lot of oil and gas in this area that they took in the 1890s, and there's still some gas and oil wells, but it's not a big deal. But now they're talking about fracking, so there's a belief that they were going to sell the water for fracking. But and they also Edison was going to build atomic power plants along here, and so after 3 Mile Island they didn't build those atomic power plants, but those power plants were going to use a lot of water. In fact, that's where Flint bought its water intake property from Detroit Edison, where Detroit Edison was going to build water lines to its nuclear plants. But they built natural gas plants instead, and so they're going to buy water from Flint. But yeah, I mean, so Flint is taking like 85 million gallons a day of untreated water out of the lake. They're spending 400 million or whatever for the pipeline, just the pipeline. Then they have to build water treatment plants at every town. Every town is like Lapeer or Flint or wherever. The water's got to be treated. So they're going to spend probably $1 billion to a water system that just replaces something that exists. And the problem in Michigan is there's no adult supervision. There's nobody. There's no governor. We had a Democratic governor in Jennifer Granholm and a Republican governor in Rick Snyder. There's no adult who can step up and say, folks, this is insane.